Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, Marc Laurenson really is one of these superstar shining astrologers that I love so much. And I'll tell you, whenever it is that I talk to Marc Laurenson, I know that I come away a better astrologer. I come away seeing my own chart differently, including those things in my chart that I have felt symbolize struggle or uncertainty. Well, it is Marc that really helps me to see them as part of some higher wisdom. And for that, I am so grateful. And I am sure that in watching this interview, you may come away looking at your chart differently as well. Well, Marc Laurenson is the big dog at the Sydney School of Astrology, one of the big dog astrologers from Australia. And now he's coming to Synchronicity University, and I couldn't be happier. Well, it is going to be this July that Marc has a 5-week course coming up, The Soul's Mission in the Birth Chart. I know a lot of students have already signed up for this and are really going to get so much out of this. And Marc really is going to help you through 5 classes, go through different layers of understanding so that you're able to recognize the soul's mission in your birth chart and in the charts of others. And so this class is starting in July, and if you sign up before the end of June, which is just a few weeks left to go, you can actually choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class, which is an unheard of rate to learn from this quality of astrologer as the one and only Marc Laurenson, who we are going to celebrate today. Welcome, Marc. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nadiya. Thank you very, very much for that wonderful introduction. And so excited to be doing this course. It's one of those courses that's so close to my heart because I love the soul-centered side of astrology. And what I want to do in this course is to be able to get people to start to look at their charts and look at people's charts through the eyes of spirit. It's basically around asking the question, why? Why would a person, or why would you have the chart you have? You know, why did you choose it? What did you come onto the planet with this map? What are you here to learn? It's basically around that. What are you here to learn? What are you here to experience? And every single person has a mission. We all have a mission, and it's got everything to do with becoming the best version of ourselves possible. And it's about locating our joy, and it's also about rubbing off on the planet in a really positive way, you know, that feeling of leaving a little bit of ourselves behind, you know, that kind of thing. And we've got this incredible map. We've got this amazing guide called the chart that's actually helping us along the way. It is flowing in the direction of our highest good all the time. And I want to be teaching people how to be able to understand that the chart is here, you know, for us to like it's our angelic guide. And if we go with the flow of the chart, if we go with what it wants us to do, we feel good. You know, we feel good to be alive. We feel good in our skins, you know. It feels good to wake up every day and be who we are. And so I really want people to kind of come at the chart from that place, and start to understand the chart as a wonderful transformative agent for us to be able to learn from more than anything else.
Wow. So the chart as angelic guide, I love that. And so this otherworldly sort of considering the blessing and how it is that you can look at the chart to actually find the blessings that are there, especially in things that are challenging, things that are difficult. And so I know I have my own example of when you gave me some insight into my chart, but maybe you can think of an example of maybe in your own chart or maybe somebody else where they came to you and you could tell that they weren't using a particular aspect properly. And because they were not using it properly, they were making it more challenging on themselves. But once they saw a particular thing in their chart differently, they were able to change the energy to actually align it and move it into the flow that you speak of, right? Not fighting with
Yeah.
their life, but really embodying their life more fully. Do you have, I'm sure you have so many examples, but can you
Oh,
give us
Lord.
one
Yeah.
example of that? Yeah.
I mean, I've been reading charts for many, many, many years. So I have lots and lots of examples. But one that comes up quite a bit are planets in the eighth house. You know, when you've got planets in the eighth house, they they can be kind of troublesome in the way that we constantly think that other people have our lives, you know, in their hands. You know, the eighth house is having to deal deeply with somebody else, and so many people seem to think that other people can make them or break them, you know, that kind of thing. And so the control and the power of other people often stop us or stop them from becoming the best person they can possibly be, because they're allowing other people to take, you know, the power or the control in their lives. And so I find so many people having to take the power back into their own hands and realizing that they are, you know, they are the power source in their own lives and not other people. And, you know, it's almost like one of those kind of aha moments. Something clicks for these people all of a sudden to realize that the only power other people or outside forces have is the power you give it. So the more you're putting energy into that, the more putting energy into thinking that other people are going to be, you know, you're at the mercy of them. And once you actually start to go, no, I'm not scared of them anymore. I'm not frightened of other people anymore. I'm not frightened of money anymore. I'm not frightened of people in my relationships anymore. As soon as you get over the fear of other people and what other people seem to want to do to you, then all of a sudden something happens to these people and they really start to take their life back into their own hands again. And the transformation or that feeling of a rebirth of sorts really happens to these people in a way where something clicks, where they realize that the power is with them and not outside of them. That's a real big one for a lot of people to get, because so many of us are kind of caught in that trap. So many of us think that outside forces, money, other people, governments, all that kind of stuff, we're underneath it, you know, we're the people that have to deal with what's going on outside of us until we realize we don't have to. Our lives are our lives. You know what I mean? We are, we are the drivers of our own ship. You know, we are the CEOs of our own lives. And as soon as we understand that, and as soon as we take our lives back into our own hands again, things change dramatically. They really do. So that's just one example. There's so many, of course, but that's one.
That's incredible. You know, I was saying to you, every time I talk to you, I come away seeing my own chart differently, understanding my own self differently. And this is a great example of that because my son is in the eighth house. And everything you just said completely applies to me. And I love the way that you articulated that. You know, for me, I felt like it took me a while to get to that place of understanding that I'm not at the mercy of people who might violate my trust.
Yeah,
That if I trust myself, then other people can do whatever it is that they're going to do, and I'm going to be
that's it.
okay. And
That's
everything you
it.
just said basically is that, like, summarizes exactly that realization I had that led to this whole other beginning, a whole rebirth, a whole new start in my life. And so, yeah, like it's phenomenal how you articulate it and how you help us to understand the chart differently. And I love the way that you just expressed that. How do you feel about going through the houses in the chart? Because I'd really love,
Um,
I know a lot of people are going to watch this interview. A bunch of them are going to want to learn more because you are so brilliant. But if you feel up to it, I'd also love it that those who maybe can't join the class feel like they get some value out of this interview. So how do you feel about going through the houses to help us to understand, maybe if your sun is in the first, the sun is in the second, how you can
mhm.
tap into that energy differently to understand it's part of your soul mission? How do you
Yeah.
feel about doing that? Do you feel ready?
Doing that now, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Of course
sure.
you could. Of course you could. You're brilliant. You're like the best Australia offers in astrology. Of course you could. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go to the first house. How can somebody with the sun in the first house understand the first house sun as part of their mission in life, their soul's
Okay.
mission?
So if you've got the sun in the first house as your soul mission, it's about you being able to shine and shine very, very brightly. Now, the sun has to be able to come into your identity. You know, you have to integrate the sun into you. So it's about that kind of, it's a very generous energy, the sun. The sun, you know, when you think of the sun in the sky, you know, the sun is just beaming down on us, giving us all the life and the love and the warmth that we need. And so I want to say your soul's mission, if you have the sun in the first house, is to do that, is to be able to shine. You're a life affirming force. Basically, that's who you are. And so wherever you go, you take the sun with you. You know what I mean? You light up people's lives. That's who you are. And so you walk into a room and people go, oh, isn't it great when this person comes in? Because all of a sudden the energy of the room lifts up. So when you've got the sun in the first, as I said, it's a very generous energy. It's about giving of yourself, and giving of yourself in a very life affirming and loving way. So when you've got your sun in the second house is about our security. It's about feeling safe. It's about feeling safe externally as well as internally. But I like to look at the second house as what we have. It's what we own. It's our resources. And so the sun is what you have. You have the sun. You know what I mean? It's what you own and how you can use it, because the second house is always going to be about how you can use whatever's in there. And so I always think that the second house, and I always find this really interesting because I find a lot of people with the sun in the second house do very well, because the second house is you. It's your personality. It's your shine, and you're your own commodity. It's like you're your own resource. And when you think of people like Oprah Winfrey's got the sun in the second house, Stephen Forrester's got the sun in the second house, you know, you can see all these people who everybody knows who they are, and they use themselves, their personality, they use themselves in a way to put their stamp on something. And it becomes a place where they start to feel secure with themselves. They feel very safe with themselves. They realize how valuable they are, and they've got something valuable to offer and to give, you know what I mean? And it's about our value center on that level, and then being able to receive materially your value as well. You know what I mean? We need to put a roof over our heads, and, you know, we need to eat, and we need to be able to do all those material things as well. So I always say there's nothing wrong with making money. It's how you make it and why you make it. That's the big deal. And so with the sun in the second, it's a life affirming way of making money as well. If you've got the sun in the third, do you want me to go through them all?
Do you want to? Do you feel like you could? I know that you could,
Yeah.
but yeah, why not? We can do that so that the people who watch, they get to see your brilliance. I love so far the things that you've said. I was thinking about how in the first house, that idea of being yourself, right? That full embodiment of just knowing that you alone are enough. Like that
Yeah.
can be very powerful with the way that you describe the sun in the first house. And with the sun in the second house, I was thinking about how I know that I remember when I was growing up when I was in my 20s, which is kind of like you're still growing up. And I guess you're always growing up. But I remember saying to myself that if I have myself, I have everything. If I have myself, I have everything. And so
Mhm.
to me, the way that you describe sun in the second house, it's kind of like that belief that these people would have, that if you have
Yeah,
yourself, you have everything. And it's so true.
exactly. So I could keep going, but
Let's
maybe
go. Let's do it. Let's spend
I'll
this
keep
time
on.
going through sun in the third house. Go for it.
Okay, we'll keep going. Okay. The sun in the third house really wants to understand what's going on. It really does. So the third house loves to learn. It loves to pick up information. It wants all the bits and pieces. It wants all the logic. It wants all the facts and the figures. So when you've got the sun in the third, there's this feeling of being fascinated or interested all the time. And need to be mentally stimulated. So anything to do with information and learning and classing and teaching and being in environments where lots of stuff is going on and you're getting kind of aha moments and aha downloads and, all those kind of penny dropping moments for you are just like gold. They're gold. And information excites you, information, and you being able to be a disseminator or a passer or honorer of information is going to be super, super important for you. You know what I mean? You being able to be a messenger of sorts and being able to put your love and your heart into your messages is going to be super important for you. If you've got the sun in the fourth, then this is kind of a really interesting one, because the sun in the fourth can often go down the road of being connected to family on one level, but needing to individuate and find out itself, find out how it can shine outside of the family as well. Like the family itself becomes almost like like a stage for you to recognize who you are. And so a lot of people with the sun in the fourth actually live quite a lot far away from their families. They kind of want to find out who they are, find their own homes, find out where they belong. You know what I mean? They are products of their family and they're always kind of connected to family and they love their families, but they always have to venture out and try to find out who they are on the level of where do I belong? Where's my home? Where's my emotional safety? And a feeling of being able to find that joy in being able to recognize themselves on an emotional level outside of family as much as inside of family. So it's a really interesting one, the sun in the fourth. The sun in the fifth wants to get out into the world and show itself off. You know what I mean? Here I am, and so it's a very creative sun. It's a very life-affirming sun. It's a very generous sun. So if you can put your stamp on anything, if you can actually put your name on something that you've created, that kind of thing, it's a celebration. It's a celebration of yourself. Children will come into this, loving the love of children and all that kind of thing will come into this. Anything that gives you that buzz, anything that lights you up. And it's a feeling of you being able to, a little bit like the sun in the first in the way, where you need to be able to give this energy generously to make other people happy as well. The sun in the sixth needs to find the right work. When it needs to find the right work. It needs to find work that satisfies it. It needs to find work where it's feeling skillful, helpful, healing. It needs to find work where it feels useful. It needs to find work where it feels that on a service level, that it's enjoying what it's doing at the same time. And so the sun in the sixth, I always think, really needs to get into some kind of training or get into some kind of tutoring or coaching that is going to actually uplift, that feeling of being a motivational speaker or being a person who can be a healer of people, in like an astrologer kind of thing that can actually uplift people, that can actually put life back into people again. Through what they do work-wise, that's like rolling up the sleeves and coming in going, I want to give you a hand. I want to help you out. How can I do it? And as I said, it's about being able to put life back into the other person again through what you do work-wise. So will I continue with the seventh?
Would you like to? Yeah. I mean, I love it. I love what I'm learning so far. And I'm sure there are a lot of people watching who feel like they're able to see their own charts so differently now. I loved when you talked about the third and that idea of brilliance and that idea of expression and how much people gain and understand themselves more when they're willing to be spontaneous. So I love that you talked about that and honor their curiosity. And the fourth house, so interesting, right? Because how you described it was that these people, they need to figure out what home is for them so that they really feel like they're able to shine. They create their own home in their own way, whether that's inside themselves or somewhere in the world. The
That's
fifth
right.
house, of course, you talked about that sense of, when you were talking, I was thinking about, this idea of actually, because I've right now, somebody asked me to I've been growing my TikTok and my Instagram lately, right? And so somebody had asked me to do a video about the different signs when they travel. And so I was thinking about, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about that person who shows up with their Louis Vuitton bag and they're wearing their, big Dior sunglasses. And they're like, oh no, I'm in premium economy. I'm not in regular economy, right? That's what I thought of when you were talking
I
about the
love
sun
that.
in the fifth and the sun in the sixth. I loved how you described this idea of using your day-to-day life to give,
Mm,
right? I love that you're emphasizing the generosity part of the sun, because I think that's something that's often overlooked. We don't
mm,
always focus on the fact that the sun is generous. We think of how the sun
very
shines and
generous.
you're the spotlight, but the sun is actually really giving as well. So I love how you were able to emphasize that when looking at the sixth.
Yeah, as you said, Nadia, we don't talk about the sun as such a generous energy. And to use the sun well, we have to be generous with it. We really do, because that really makes us happy, really makes us happy. When we're kind of needy, when we have that, oh, I need attention, I need recognition, we always kind of feel empty. You know what I mean? When we're full, we're generous. And so when we're doing the sun well, we're generous. That's how it works.
I love that, because to me that speaks of how we can actually, as you started off this interview by saying, we can be conscious with our charts. We can be conscious with how we tap into the energy. And if you change your understanding of the sun to, this is where I need to be generous to really feel lighter, to feel more like
Yeah,
me, that alone can empower people to change their approach to their
totally,
charts and their
totally.
lives immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that you've got something, that you matter, that you're important, you've got something to offer, because so many of us feel quite empty and feel quite valueless. And the sun has a lot to do with value in a very different way to Venus in the second house. It's about you being valuable because you're alive, you've got something, you're a little sprinkle of universal energy here representing the universe. So what's not important about that? And then when you get to know that, it's all of a sudden, it's like, oh, wow, I've got this. And, it's almost like my universal responsibility to be able to give it out in some kind of way. And so the sun in the seventh, I'll
Yeah,
keep
let's do
going.
the seventh. We'll skip the eighth, because the eighth people like myself, we already got our fill. And so we'll do the seventh and we'll do the ninth. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So the sun in the seventh, as we know, it's a relationship oriented house. So it's about being able to bring the sun into the area of relationship and being able to light up relationships, and not just personal relationships, but all kinds of relationships. But I often think that with the sun in the seventh, you've got to always be very careful. You're still going to be talking about you. It's who you are in the context of relationship. So to maintain a sense of your specialness, to maintain a sense of your importance, to maintain a sense that you matter and you'll shine in the context of a relationship is really, really important. You know how sometimes we give that away when we're in a relationship? We want the man, or we want the relationship so much that we give away a lot of ourselves to actually hold on to something. And this is about being treated well. You know what I mean? When your sun's happening and you're shining really well and you're feeling really good about yourself, you're not going to be treated any other way but good. You know what I mean? And so you need to be able to come into that place, and then of course be able to share the sun with all the people that come into your lives, especially in one-on-one situations. Now, going into the ninth, I've got the sun in the ninth. So the sun in the ninth is all about getting out into the world and exploring and questing and understanding the bigger picture. What's the meaning of life? So your joy, your happiness is always about coming into a sense of your faith or your principles or your ethics, or having something to believe in is so important, for the sun in the ninth house. I believe in that. I can rest my hat on that. I have faith in life, and I believe there's something positive happening in life. So the sun in the ninth has a lot to do with teaching as well. The other side of the third house, teaching, it's that a disseminating of information on a much bigger picture level. It's about concepts and theories and, about an understanding of spirituality and having an opinion and all those things. So again, it's about being able to be an inspirer or an enthuser on that level. If you've got the sun in the 10th, you have a mission. Now, we all have a mission, but the people with the sun in the 10th, you can turn the volume up on that. They've got something to do out there in the world. You know what I mean? They have a public role and they have a responsibility of sorts. And when I say responsibility, I mean that in a good way. It's about being able to give you out there in the public. It's about you having people say a career or a vocation. Well, for sure, that's part of it. But I want to say for you, it's always going to be around feeling that what you're doing out there in the world is impacting the world in a really, really positive way. You are infusing life back into the world through what you do. And so again, like the 6, you have to find work that you love. If you're not working in stuff you love, you're going to feel it. You really will feel it. Same with the sun in the 6. It'll bring you down. So you've got to find work you love. You've got to find work that inspires you. You've got to find work that fills you up. You've got to find work where you can actually feel that you're looking forward to every day, and then be able to transform it out there in the world so the public can receive it. In the 11th, I want to say that you have to find the right people. You have to be with the right people. So many people think that the 11th house is about everybody. I want to say that the 11th house can impact everybody and has a really good way of being able to make a difference and impacting society or impacting the world. But for the sun to be really happy, it has to be with its people. It has to be with the people that bring it joy. It has to be with people that allow it, to express itself. Not everybody is going to do that. You know what I mean? Lots of people are going to come into your world and want to dampen you, or it's, people bring you down or people depress you or whatever. It's about you being amongst people where your sun is at its best. And so I want to say to be in environments or causes or projects or ventures or visions or whatever, where you can throw yourself wholeheartedly into something, where you're giving again generously out there in the world and impacting and making a difference with all the people that support that, with all the people that are on your page, with all the people that are on your side. And that's when you actually start to feel, I'm making a difference in the world. I'm rubbing up on the world in a really, really positive way, and the world is changing because of me. When you've got the sun in the 12th, this is a really interesting one, because anything in the 12th is interesting. The sun in the 12th, I always think when I look at the 12th, I always think there's something with this planet that's kind of lost its way, maybe in a past life or in the ether of time or early childhood. It feels very much like if I get out into the world and I start to go out there in a greedy kind of way and start to grab things for my own benefit and just get out there and, fill my coffers and just get attention for all the wrong reasons, it's not going to do it for me. You know what I mean? It might do it for other people, but it's not going to do it for me. So therefore, the sun in the 12th is looking for some kind of higher understanding of why it's here on the planet. You know what I mean? And so it's need to go it's almost like an internal search. It feels a little bit like I've got to locate something inside of me that speaks to me on a daily basis, that tells me everything's okay. You know what I mean? Everything's fine. You're doing really well. You're a beautiful soul. You're a beautiful part of, the evolutionary universal experience. And coming into knowing that I'm a soul, having a human experience and not vice versa, makes me actually go, I kind of know why I'm here now. I know why I'm here, because I've got to give of myself in a way where my ego or my smaller needs or my feeling of self-importance or whatever needs to be kind of put on the back burner. And I now realize that my life is much bigger than all of that. My life is huge. You know what I mean? My life is all encompassing. My life can impact the world in such a way, you know what I mean, that it's much, much bigger than my tiny little needs that I thought was really important. And all of a sudden, I'm becoming the world. I'm becoming part of the world. There's no separation between me and the world. And so all of a sudden, I'm starting to feel the joy of being alive. All of a sudden, I'm starting to feel the rush of the universe running through me. And I'm actually starting to feel now that I can get out into the world in a way where nothing's going to hold me back. Nothing's going to hold me back because I have the universe as my best friend. It's in me. It's part of me. And now there's this kind of like boundaryless kind of feeling of me being so in tune, so in tandem with what I've come here to be and what I've come here to do, that there is no way I could, I could doubt myself, or no way that I could falter, or no way that I could feel anything else but this incredible faith, incredible trust around who I am and how I'm connected to the universe. So there you go.
I love it, Marc. Well, look at that. We got a lesson, right? Like, and Marc is going to be teaching a 5-week course, and we already got this first class done. So it's like 6 classes. The first class just being out there on YouTube. Marc, I'm so grateful for your generosity. And I'm sure everybody out there, you can see just how insightful and soul-centered Marc really is in helping us to understand the chart. And I know so many people are going to get so much out of his 5-week course at Synchronicity University. So remember, you guys, it is the Soul's Mission in the Birth Chart, a 5-week course starting this July. And you've got a couple of more weeks left to sign up and choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class, which is really an unheard of rate to learn from the likes of the brilliant Marc Laurenson. I know Marc teaches so much. It's very obvious, Marc, that you are a very, I want to say gifted teacher, but I think it's more, there's the part of it that is, innate, what you bring into this lifetime, the love of it you bring into this lifetime, but it's also cultivated through just really knowing what you're doing and having so many students as well. I know that so many students are going to get so much out of this, not just for what you're going to teach, but the way in which you teach, the format that we're going to follow. It's just all going to come together really nicely. So I hope that you guys will check it out. And yes, we got a free class here right out of the gate. So thank you so much, Marc, for your generosity of spirit and time, and for coming back to Synchronicity University.
Thank you so much, Nadiya, for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
And thank you, everybody out there, for watching. And until we connect again, take care. Bye.
Bye.